Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel and welcome to the first of so many picture predictions videos that I have to do this week. And I'm going to be kicking it off today with All In. I mentioned this during my channel update. I miss doing this for AEW. I only did it a couple of times because it's really hard to keep up with them since they're pay-per-view, not just like on Peacock or on Max like they used to be. So it's hard for me to be able to watch the shows, so I'm like, why would I do picks and predictions if I can't do the reviews? No guarantees that I'm going to be able to watch All In live, but I'm going to do my best to give you guys a proper picks and predictions show right now, and then a proper review after the event goes down. As you can see, I'm not doing my new setup where I sit in front of the TV with the backgrounds. I figured we just do a sit back, relax, kind of chill. To be completely honest with you, I'm recording this kind of first thing in the morning before I have to go to work because I have so much to do this week. I won't babble on and on too much about all the videos, but there's this picks and predictions, there's the mega episode I promised you guys where I'm going to do picks and predictions for all 3 WWE shows coming this weekend, and of course there's Drop and Shred, there's MAW. I want to get to that other Amnesia game, so busy boy. But surprisingly, in my opinion, there's only 8 matches on the All In card. I guess maybe Tony Khan's starting to learn that you don't need 15 matches just because you have a pay-per-view. And that's awesome on him, because I think this card is absolutely stacked. I wrote these down in the order I wanted to do them, but I'm going to switch that order up a little bit, because I want to start with the men's and women's casino gauntlets. Mostly because those are the 2 matches where I'm just like, I don't know. You would think, based on the stories we're telling recently, that someone like MJF or Mark Briscoe is probably going to win the men's. Just because the big story lately has been that MJF and Mark Briscoe can't stand each other, and Mystico and MJF have a feud, so Mystico's probably going to be in it. I'd be willing to guarantee, I think, on social media, that the, what's that called? See, I'm tired. The promo poster on social media has MJF, Mark Briscoe, and Mystico. So you got to imagine it's going to be one of those 3, probably not Mystico. I feel like it's going to be MJF. That's my prediction. So they can continue this feud on. The Hurt Syndicate might get involved. MVP might get involved more than anybody else. The Hurt Syndicate's going to be busy. We'll get to that. My pick for that would be Mark Briscoe, obviously. I love Mark. And the casino matches give you a world title shot in the future, I'm pretty sure. So obviously, I want Mark Briscoe to win that, especially after the promo off they had. I haven't actually watched it all the way through because I know what MJF said. And as long as Mark Briscoe was okay with it, that's fine. That's the big thing with me. When this came out recently in Charlotte's interview, to kind of go off track for just a second, when Tiffany Stratton said to Charlotte Flair that she has a 0-3 record in marriages, that threw Charlotte off because they hadn't agreed to that yet. And that's my biggest thing. You have to agree to these things. Like when Randy Orton told Rey Mysterio back in 2006 or 7, whenever that was, I think it was 6, that Eddie Guerrero was in hell. Everybody had agreed to that line. Randy Orton still felt bad about saying it, but the creative team and Eddie's family and Rey Mysterio, obviously, all said, yeah, let's do it. Let's give Orton some heat. For MJF, I feel bad saying this out loud. For MJF to say that Jay Briscoe would have rathered that Mark Briscoe was the one involved in that accident, that's a little too far for me. I can't bring myself to hear MJF say it. I can hear him saying it in my head. I know it sounds like I'm just going on a ramble, but the feud between MJF and Mark Briscoe has been really, really good. So it has to be one of them. Prediction-wise, I think it's going to be MJF. Pick-wise, I would love it to be Mark Briscoe. Do I think Mark Briscoe's going to win the World Heavyweight Championship? Not right now, but to put him in that position would be pretty good. So that's for the men's gauntlet. For the women's gauntlet, I think it's going to be Megan Bayne. MAW. Ugh. There's too much wrestling, and I'm part of the problem. AEW has been really pushing Megan Bayne lately. She's another one of those that I didn't know who she was until she showed up in AEW, and then I went and I did this thing called Google. I'm so mean to the people that are like, I don't know who that is. So just look her up. Holy shit. Everybody has the internet. Clearly, these people have the internet because they're using social media to bitch. So go to Google. Anyway, I think Megan Bayne is going to be the next big thing, no pun intended, in AEW in the women's division. Their women's division is amazing. I think that it's at a better place now than it has been in a while. Maybe not ever, but in a long time. And she's just the next one. She's the next in line to be that next big star. So I think Megan Bayne, prediction-wise, is going to win. Pick-wise, I don't know. I don't really have a pick for this because I'm not really sure who's all going to be in it. Like when I was writing these down based on Wikipedia and other articles, it all says participants to be announced other than the people that were obvious. It'd be cool if Tekla won it. I'm a huge Tekla fan. I have a bias towards women with that part haircut that she has where it's like her hair's kind of braided or shaved here and then it's to the side. Hunger Games movies got me into that haircut. And someone I didn't know who she was until she debuted. Looked her up. She's great. But I also like Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale. One of them could show up and win it, but I think Willow's also going to be present during the main event, which we'll talk about later. So I don't really have a pick for this match. You know what? I'm going to come out of left field, even after I mentioned all those wrestlers. I'm going to pick Ty Mello. I'm such a huge Ty Mello fan. And Anna Jay as well. Like, I love Ty J so much. But when Ty Mello came back a few weeks ago, I genuinely got a little emotional. She had a kid. Her and Sammy have been living out their lives. They've been having a great time. Ty Mello was always a great star, and she got a good reaction when she came back. So I'm going to pick Ty Mello out of left field to win the Women's Casino Gauntlet. But prediction-wise, I do think it's going to be Megan Bayne. Okay, now on to the rest of the matches here. I mentioned the Hurt Syndicate. They're defending their AEW Tag Team titles against Jet Speed, which is Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, and the Patriarchy, Nick Wayne and Christian Cage. I almost said Nick Cage. Nicolas Cage. Nick Wayne and Christian Cage. This is an interesting one because immediately my brain with predictions wants to say Hurt Syndicate. 100% Hurt Syndicate. Because they're the Hurt Syndicate. They're Bobby Lashley. They're Shelton Benjamin. They're going to dominate. Blah, 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 blah. So that seems obvious, but at the same time, it seems like we're building Jet Speed a lot. And I don't know. It being a triple threat means that they could lose the titles and not be involved in the decision, which could be a whole direction they could go with. They could be like, oh, we didn't even get pinned. Let's have our rematch. And they could get the titles back in a week. Like, I can see that as a potential legitimate storyline. Jet Speed wins the tag team titles by pinning Nick Wayne. And then the following Wednesday, like next Wednesday on Dynamite, the Hurt Syndicate demands their rematch and kills Jet Speed and wins the titles back in like 2 minutes. I'm not saying you should do that, but, for example, remember what we did at WrestleMania. Becky Lynch and Lara Valkyria won the women's tag team titles. Then, was it the very next night? I don't remember which night the tag title match went down. That's what happens with too much wrestling. But basically, on Raw, they lost the tag titles, and then Becky Lynch turned heel, and now we have this amazing storyline going on. I'm not saying we're going to get something like that, like Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey are going to turn on each other. But you could do something like that. The Hurt Syndicate could lose the titles to Jet Speed and then win them back pretty much immediately. And I don't think anybody would be bothered by it. They get a good reaction. Everyone's happy with title changes. And then the Hurt Syndicate could be like, "Arr," and then they could just kill Jet Speed. I mean, just straight up murder. We never see either one of them again. Prediction-wise, I do think the Hurt Syndicate's going to retain. God, this is hard. Pick-wise, I think I'm going to pick that. I'm going to pick Jet Speed. I don't know. I watch AEW, right? I don't watch it all the time, but I do keep up with it. I'm not entirely sure how the Patriarchy got into this match, but I don't really care. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Some people are saying that maybe Adam Copeland's going to come back. Maybe that's one of the main reasons is Cope is ready to come back, and where else than All In. So maybe the Patriarchy gets, like, the referee gets knocked. That's too much. I'm going to pick Jet Speed, mostly because I kind of like the trajectory I came up with, that maybe they pin the Patriarchy. I don't want them to get beat up by the Hurt Syndicate, but I think that'd be a good story. But prediction-wise, I think the Hurt Syndicate is going to retain. The TNT Championship match, Adam Cole versus Kyle Fletcher. My pick and my prediction, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, is Kyle Fletcher. I love Adam Cole, baby. Everyone loves Adam Cole. But I do think it is time to take the title off of him and to give it to Kyle Fletcher. I think the Don Callis family is in the best position it's ever been in. Konosuke Takeshita's going to battle Bandito. Another wrestling show. What is it? Supercard of Honor tomorrow for the Ring of Honor World title. And honestly, I'm not going to do picture predictions for that show. But I think Konosuke should win the ROH World title on that show. And then on Saturday, Fletcher should win the TNT title. And then as we continue to move forward, I will talk about the other Don Callis match later on. But the Don Callis family should start to build momentum again. I don't even know why I feel like that. I think this is July, so we got to be getting close to Blood and Guts. I think that's going to involve the Young Bucks and the Ops and the Death Riders and Hangman and all that. But I think the Don Callis family winning some gold and starting to climb that ladder is going to be good, because you always want the heel faction to start seeming like a threat, right? And the Don Callis family is always a threat, but you always become more of a threat when you win titles. If we go to next Wednesday and Takeshita and Fletcher are champions, and then now we got to figure out who's going to take those titles from them. So that's kind of where that came from. This feud's been great. I think it'll be one of the... This card has a lot of matches that are going to be talked about for the rest of the year. I think people are undermining Adam Cole and Kyle Fletcher because of other matches we're going to talk about. But I think it'll surprise people. It'll probably get good time. There's going to be shenanigans, but I still think Kyle Fletcher's going to win. I think that the Don Callis family's going to get involved. Then the Paragon's going to get involved. And then no matter, Adam Cole's going to, lower the boom, hit the Panama Sunrise, maybe hit another Panama Sunrise. Kyle Fletcher's just going to kick out, and he's going to hit all his big moves, and we're going to have a new TNT champion. I'm picking him because I really like Kyle Fletcher. I was really upset when they split up the United Empire, but over time, Kyle Fletcher's really proved that he could have done this on his own from the beginning. So, pick and prediction that we're going to have a brand new TNT champion in Kyle Fletcher. Okay, next up is Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland against the Young Bucks. For those of you who don't know, there is a major stipulation on this match. If the Young Bucks lose, they relinquish their EVP titles, meaning they're no longer in charge of AEW. But if Ospreay and Swerve lose, they cannot challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship for an entire year. This is a hard one because there's a cat trying to eat my notebook. That's not why this is hard. This is hard because prediction-wise, I feel like Ospreay and Swerve have to win. Why would you take Swerve and Ospreay away from the World Championship scene for an entire year? However, it's just like the other tag match on the card. My brain automatically says, oh, Swerve Ospreay. But also the Bucks could win, continue their reign of tyranny, and then Ospreay and Swerve could have like a mini feud, because Swerve didn't want that stipulation. And Swerve and Ospreay, you could have a pay-per-view where that's the only match, and everyone would watch it, and everyone would love it. I would rewatch it 600 times. And that just means it's just a year, right? It just means they can't challenge for the title until All In next year, and maybe that's part of the story. Maybe Tony Khan, I know people think Tony Khan is a dumb crackhead, but just bear with me for a second. Maybe, just maybe, he's planned this out to where next year at All In, which is supposed to be back at Wembley Stadium, Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland maybe both become number one contenders? Maybe Will Ospreay wins the Owen Hart Cup? I don't know. It's hard to decide because I'm not Tony Khan, I don't know what he has in mind. I don't think that's a terrible idea. I try to say terrible and horrible. You have Ospreay and Swerve lose. Swerve gets pissed. Him and Ospreay split off into a mini feud. You eventually probably get that blood and guts match with everybody in it. And then maybe Will Ospreay wins next year's Owen Hart Cup, which means he challenges for the title at All In, which means the 1 year comes to an end. Who's champion by then? That's another story altogether, because the Bucks are the ones taking away the opportunity, so it has to be somebody in line with the heels. This is all, I know, I'm speculating all the way out. I'm going to stick with my original prediction and pick, being Swerve and Ospreay. I love the Young Bucks. I think inarguably they're the greatest tag team of all time. Maybe arguably. Maybe you can make an argument for like the Hardy Boys and Dudley, so on and so forth. But I do think they're the greatest tag team of all time. But I do think, pick-wise, you want Ospreay and Swerve to win. You don't want them to lose their title opportunities for 365 days. And we're ready for the Young Bucks to get dropped, you know? And last night on Dynamite, Swerve Strickland became Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's the coolest wrestler in all of AEW. He took a tractor and just, with a I want to call it a bucket. That's basically what it is. And just smashed up and destroyed the Young Bucks' cool limo they've had for weeks. It was awesome. So, pick and prediction, Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland defeat the Young Bucks, and the Bucks lose their power. So the last 3 matches on this card, I always joke about when companies go, we have 3 main events. The only main event is the last match on the show. With that being said, all 3 of these matches can be considered main events. I'm willing to say that there is definitely a triple main event at All In. I'm going to talk about these in the order I think they're going to happen, even though in the order of excitement, it's completely different. But first up, Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, the Continental and International Championships, are being unified into the Unified Championship. The one thing I'll say I hate about this is I recently read a report that Tony Khan is not getting rid of the International and Continental titles. He's just adding another belt. It's like, Tony, not everybody in AEW needs to hold a belt, man. But it's fine. This is where my pick and prediction is kind of rough, because it seems like, story-wise, we are building to Omega putting down Okada. Which I'm down with. Pick-wise, I'm picking Omega. He's my favorite wrestler in the entire world, maybe of all time. Like, my favorite wrestlers of all time are like The Undertaker and Seth Rollins and The Ultimate Warrior. Yes, The Ultimate Warrior. I know it sounds crazy. But I do think Kenny Omega might dethrone all of them for me personally. He's one of those ones that no matter what match he's in, I'm going to be biased. I'm picking Kenny Omega. Unless someday he actually makes it to WWE and faces Seth Rollins, and then I'm just going to keel over and never exist. But prediction-wise, I think it's going to be Okada. I think that Okada being in the Don Callis family, and I mentioned this when I talked about the match when it was first announced a few weeks ago. I don't like the idea of Okada being in the Don Callis family because it means there could be interference. And because of that, it bugs me, okay? It bugs me. I'm losing my train of thought because I'm trying to figure out how to word this properly. This match should be no shenanigans. Yes, Don Callis can be out there. But I don't want anybody else from the family to show up and be like, oh, I don't want Rocky Romero or Trent. I don't want anybody showing up try to screw Kenny Omega. Maybe that won't happen. Maybe I'm wrong. But I still think, prediction-wise, Okada's going to win. I think he's going to cheat. I think we're going to get low blows. I think we're going to get, like, referee distraction, shots to the stomach with pipes or steel chairs. He's going to work over Omega's stomach a lot. I'm going to make a really bold prediction right now because this never happens, and that's the point with Kenny Omega. I think Okada should kick out of the One-Winged Angel. Before the entire internet barrels through my front door, I know Kenny Omega's One-Winged Angel is the most protected finisher, I think, in wrestling history. I think I can only remember one person maybe ever kicking out of it. If it's 2, I'd be shocked. That's the whole thing. One-Winged Angel, everybody loses in a One-Winged Angel. If you hit it on Kenny, he kicks out because it's his move. I think that should happen. Will it happen? I don't know. But I think at one point, after a bunch of shenanigans, that Kenny manages to get the better of Okada, hits the One-Winged Angel. We get 1, we get 2, and Okada kicks out. It will shock me, and I'm calling for it. I'm saying it should happen. The whole wrestling world will talk about it. I think everyone will just, those reactions when people are just cheering for an insane amount of time. You're wondering how can they be cheering this long? It'll be one of those shocks. So that's what I think. I really hope there's not too many shenanigans, and if there are, just do it right. And again, have Okada kick out of the Rainmaker, or not the Rainmaker. That's his move. Omega will kick out of the Rainmaker. Have Okada kick out of the One-Winged Angel. My pick is Kenny Omega, but my prediction is Kazuchika Okada. Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné for the Women's World Championship. I'm surprised this isn't title for title. I really thought by the time we got to this week that even if it was a last-minute decision, that it would end up being for both championships. It's not, which makes it this interesting. My pick is Toni Storm. I think Toni Storm should hand Mercedes her first loss. I think it'll be a huge moment. I think she should, kick out of all of, kickouts of everybody's finishes all over the place. I think it should go really long. I think it should be, personally, one of the longest matches of the night because there are still little tiny, itty-bitty, usually men out there that are little losers on the internet. They're so small that they have to jump on each letter that think Mercedes Moné sucks. She doesn't. She is one of, if not the best women's wrestler in the world. And if her and Toni get like 30, 40 minutes, we're really going to see it. We're going to see everything. Or we're going to see all their flaws. And I'm fully aware of that. I'm fully aware that if you give them a long time, if Tony Khan says, hey, you guys got 45 minutes, and they wrestle for 38, that we might see some flaws, You always want to work towards your competitor's strengths. I'm not saying that Mercedes is perfect. I know I just said she might be the best women's wrestler in the world, but I've seen her make mistakes. I've also seen Toni Storm make mistakes. I've seen all of my favorites make mistakes. Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria. I know I'm jumping to WWE, but everyone jumps on Mercedes' case like she's the only one that makes mistakes. I, again, think this is going to be one of the best matches of the night. I think that this is going to be one of the best women's matches of the year. These are the two biggest stars in the women's division in AEW. I know I sound like I'm doing hyperbole, but I'm really not. This is the biggest women's match AEW has probably ever presented us. So they're going to get a lot of time. They're going to do everything they can. Pick-wise, I want Toni to win and hand Mercedes her first loss. Prediction-wise, I don't know. I've tried not to say I don't know here. Even with the Casino Gauntlet matches, I at least picked and predicted somebody. Prediction-wise, this is hard because you would think everyone's just assuming Mercedes is going to win. Again, they're really, really tiny individuals. They're literally this big. Are just assuming Mercedes is going to win every match, but I don't think that's true. Prediction-wise, I'm having a hard time. I'm going to say I don't know for predictions. I try not to do that. I'm going to go, I don't care, because I really don't. Prediction-wise, I think this is going to be a damn good match. If Mercedes does win, it just means we are building more and more towards a major loss. And that's the thing. That's why I like this version of Mercedes Moné, the title collector, the woman that wins every match no matter what. All that does is it puts her so high on a pedestal that when we get to the finale, when she loses the women's world title or the TBS title, that first loss is going to knock her down lots of pegs. And then she's going to start losing more and more. That's what happened when Kenny was a belt collector. I think a lot of people forget that. When Kenny lost the TNA World Championship to Christian on the very first episode of Collision, I think that was. God, that was a long time ago. Or maybe it was Rampage. Might have been Rampage, which, Rampage is dead now. But when that happened, Kenny lost a bunch of confidence. He got mad. And he was in Don Cal's family at the time, so all them got mad. And then he started losing more. And I think that's what people need to wait for. All these people that hate Mercedes Moné because she was born and exists and breathes oxygen need to chill the fuck out, because if she beats Toni Storm, it just means that the fall is going to be even greater. That's all it means. The more you win, the worse that first loss is. Unless you're Goldberg and then your first loss is from a cattle prod. So pick-wise, I'm picking Toni Storm to hand Mercedes her first loss. Prediction-wise, shoulders in the air, big shrug emoji. I don't care. I just hope that it's as good as I am assuming it's going to be. The main event of All In might be my favorite match of all time by the time it's over. It's Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page for the World Heavyweight Championship. And you bet your ass it is a Texas death match. I was watching Dynamite. That was last week. I don't watch Dynamite a whole lot. Just last night, we were watching Criminal Minds and The Big Bang Theory instead of watching Dynamite. Just because I try to make this sound as good as I possibly can. Sometimes I'm working, and sometimes it's 7 p.m., and I just kind of want to watch a regular show with my wife. I don't really want to make her sit through too much wrestling, especially when a weekend like this weekend's coming up. I know I'm getting off track, but the point is, I did watch Dynamite last week, and when Hangman said, give me a Texas death match, I freaked out because these two men have had a Texas Death Match before. Hangman's had several. He's like the Texas Death Match king. Mox has had several. Mox has had lights out, unsanctioned fights. These are two of the most violent wrestlers in American pro wrestling right now, especially on television. And you go back to anything that they've done in the past. And if you know me, hardcore wrestling is my favorite kind of wrestling. So, for me, this is one of the most anticipated matches for me in a long time. Even with Okada and Omega on the same show. And I made a whole video about their feud. But these are two of my favorite wrestlers, period. Mox and Hangman. I've been a big fan of Jon Moxley since the day he showed up in AEW. Oh, don't you know he was Dean Ambrose? Yes, but Dean Ambrose was not Jon Moxley. And yes, I know they kind of made the Death Riders, I don't know how to explain it. People are sick of the Death Riders in this version of Jon Moxley. I'm not. I love the Death Riders. I love Jon. I love this feud he's doing with Hangman. I love the fact that Hangman hit Marina Shafir with the buckshot last week. My pick is Hangman Adam Page. My prediction is Hangman Adam Page. I think we're there. I think we're to the end of this story. I think it's time for Jon to drop the championship. I kind of hope Hangman wins and opens the briefcase and the title's not in there. I kind of hope that it's stupid, but I think it'd be funny. I think there's going to be the most shenanigans in AEW history in this match. I think that no matter how the Bucks match goes earlier in the night, they're going to be in it. I think the Ops are going to show up. The Death Riders are going to show up. The big prediction, prediction, I kind of think another word, that everyone is saying is that Darby's going to return. Everyone thinks that that's how Moxley's going to lose, that Darby Allin's going to return, and that's going to lead to, that's probably going to be the blood and guts match. It's Darby Allin, Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay, the Ops against the Bucks, and maybe the Patriarchy as well, and the Death Riders. It's probably going to be a huge match. But I don't know about that. I know Darby is back in the States. There was, or at home. Where the fuck is Mount Everest, man?
Somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, somewhere. I don't know my geography. But the point is, I saw a video of him recently doing like more skateboard tricks or something. Like he's back, and he's still being Darby Allin. So he could come back at All In. I guess the question is, does he come back to help Hangman win, or do we pull a WrestleMania 39 and Hangman loses and Darby comes back afterwards to like chase off Jon Moxley and be his next challenger? Because a lot of people assume that's who was going to take the title off Moxley in the first place, was Darby Allin. I'm still, sticking with my pick and prediction. I still think that Hangman should win as my pick, and I do think prediction-wise he's going to win. Something big is going to happen during this match. I don't just mean ultra-violent like a flaming glass table covered in thumbtacks. You heard it here first. But I think that we're going to get all this interference. I think Willow Nightingale, I mentioned her earlier, she's going to get involved with Marina Shafir, or Hangman's just going to kill her with a dead shot on a table, or on a chair, I mean. I'm not trying to predict the whole match out, but again, I do think we're going to get a bunch of interference. It's going to feel a lot like the WrestleMania, what was it, 40 match with all the interferences, or 39 or whatever. No, it was 40, that was right. No, it was 39. My brain is not working. I do think we're going to get just tons of people, but in the end, I think Hangman's going to win. Maybe he hits a bunch of buck shots. I'm not sure what move he's going to... I think he's going to hit a swerve stomp at one point, or a house call. He's gonna hit a swerve move. Do I think Darby Allin's going to show up? Maybe. It's a big maybe. Is it the right time for him to return? Yes, it is. Absolutely. Again, just like I mentioned Adam Copeland returning, where else but All In? All In is AEW's WrestleMania, so it's their biggest show of the year. I kind of hope he does come back, but as far as where, I don't know. If Jon Moxley retains his title, then I definitely think he should return, because every time Jon Moxley wins, he still beats up after, so he'll have to come back and stop everybody from killing. She's broken several of these. So they don't kill whoever. They were going to do the bag over the head of Ospreay last night. So many people in AEW just try to actually murder people. And do the cops get involved? Of course not. It's wrestling. They're not going to get involved. Anyway, my only other prediction for the main event is that there are going to be casual wrestling fans that are going to turn it off or turn away. It's going to be ultra, ultra violent. So that's it. Those are my picture predictions for AEW All In, 30 minutes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I super appreciate you guys watching this. Again, I cannot guarantee I'm actually going to watch All In live, but I will do my absolute best to watch as much as I can, get enough information to do my reviews, because my reviews aren't specific. I don't do a beat-by-beat review. I just kind of tell you what I liked about it, if I didn't like anything about it, the big spots, and then who won, and maybe the implications of who won. So, hopefully I can do more of these AEW ones. I really enjoy doing this. Again, I do like All Elite Wrestling. I just, again, pay-per-view is a little harder than just turning on Peacock. So, until next time, enjoy AEW All In this weekend and all the goddamn wrestling. I have a big video coming out next week about it. And until next time, I already said that, this is JT Channel. I am JT, and we'll see you in the next one, which will be another Picks and Predictions video.